What's going on YouTube? Chances are when you think of a full-size SUV, you think of the Tahoe. It has been the dominant player in the segment for years. But Chevy is not content to just sit around and let it stagnate. So this is what we have right here, the 2025 Tahoe. And we have some major updates this year, especially when it comes to the cabin and technology. So with a new Expedition and Armada on the horizon, does this have what it takes to stay as the king? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, so let's start things off with the exterior design. Now, obviously, this is a very popular product, so Chevy didn't completely reinvent everything. With that being said, for 2025, they have refreshed the front design for all of the trim levels that this is available in. Now, what I'm standing next to today is the High Country. This is the top trim level of the Tahoe, and it does actually have some significant updates. So you'll notice that we have a lot of gloss black going on through here, a lot less chrome than what we had last year, and a lot more special details. So you have kind of the thin, detailed silver work that goes through the grille. I think it really helps the overall look quite a lot, in my opinion. Now, in terms of our lighting, this is also updated for 2025. We have a new design. So you've got your turn signal indicator and part of your daytime running light separated up here. The headlight itself has moved down to the center section here. This is a projector LED. You do have standard LEDs on all models, and you still got that nice bracket-shaped daytime running light that goes around the outside edges. Also down below, you'll notice that we now have LED fog lamps. And by the way, those new headlights do have animations when you walk up to the vehicle and when you exit it on your top trim levels. But now let's talk about these wheels right here, because obviously these are kind of show stoppers. These are 24-inch alloy wheels. It's an available option here on the High Country. You can also option on 24s to the RST trim level. And boy, these things are absolutely massive. There's almost no vehicles on the market that have 24-inch alloy wheels. With this contrast design, just really stands out so nicely against this also new paint color. So I really like this overall combination. You still have your High Country branding as well. Obviously, there's a lot of different sizes you can choose from your wheels. If you don't want 24s, you can get 22s or down to 18s. As far as your mirrors are concerned, fully loaded on this High Country, so we have auto dimming on the driver's side, blind spot monitoring, heating, and power folding.
Now at the side of the Tahoe, I don't have to tell you this is a big SUV. You already knew that. It's about 210 inches long for the standard wheelbase version. Of course, they do also offer the Suburban, which is the extended wheelbase version. That's about 225 inches long. A lot of chrome work here on the side for the High Country. And as we head around to the rear design, Chevy has done a really nice job of updating this area as well for this new Tahoe. So the overall shape is going to remain mostly the same, but the elements themselves have changed quite a bit. So we have a spoiler up top. We also have a wiper integrated underneath of that for that nice sleek look. Additionally, as we head down, this is where you're going to start to see some new elements. This piece is actually going to be finished in a gloss black, and that's going to be regardless of what paint color you choose. So certainly adds a little bit more contrast to the rear. Additionally, the taillights, while they're similar in overall shape, they have been upgraded to be full LED. So that includes your brake light, your turn signal indicator, and your reverse light. And it does have that nice sweeping animation as well. Now, as we drop down to the lower fascia, this is also going to be revised. You'll notice that we have square exhaust outlets. That is going to be available on some of your higher-end Tahoes. You can also still get the circle exhaust setup if you prefer that. Your tow rating comes in at about 8,400 pounds for this Tahoe as a maximum. Now, one of the other big areas of improvement for this Tahoe is in your safety department. You're actually going to get every single available safety feature as standard equipment on all versions of this vehicle. Very happy to see that. Now, additionally, they are offering Super Cruise, and that's going to have very expanded availability. It's actually on LT trims and above, so that's going to make road tripping a lot more fun in your Tahoe or Suburban. But guys, there's also an incredibly tech-filled cabin, so let's dive into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
And now let's go ahead and check out what's new with the cabin. First, here's our key fob, your typical Chevy key fob. You do have standard smart entry as well as a remote start system. And then walking up to the vehicle, there's not a sensor behind the door handle, so just press that silver button there. That will unlock the door. We also do have the available power running boards which deploy. All right, let's check out this interior. So right away, especially if you've been in the previous model, you'll notice there are some substantial changes, especially when it comes to technology. But before we get into that, let's talk about these seats. So on the High Country specifically, we have a special perforated leather. This is your highest tier. As you can see, really nice look to this. A lot of perforation details, a lot of stitching and piping details that look fantastic. And overall, it feels soft and supple. You can get this in two different colors, black or this mocha, which is exclusive to the High Country. We also, of course, have the most seat adjustments. So we've got the 12-way power adjusting seats. Just be aware that you cannot get massaging on this like you can on a Yukon Denali. You also have memory seats located right over there on all but the base model. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that I'm inside here and closed up the door, let's talk about the rest of the cabin materials. This is really a big place that Chevy focused on a lot, especially with the High Country, but just elevating the material experience. So over here on our door trim, we've got the full leatherette covering. You're going to have that same material all through here and all along the top as well. We have a piece of genuine wood. So this has been upgraded to be a real open pore wood now on the High Country model. As we move to the upper dashboard, again, you're going to see more of that leatherette covering. You've got the perforated details through here, special High Country branding, and then a big, beautiful piece of wood that goes through here. More stitching details and more leather down here for our knees to rest against with a piano black finish on our console. So overall, just a more premium experience when it comes to materials for sure. And let's go ahead and fire it up with our push button start. All right, now that it's fired up, let's get into some of the specific details. And there's no better place to begin than our upgraded technology. So a big change is going to begin right here with our gauge cluster. We now have an 11-inch kind of freestanding digital gauge cluster. This is standard on every single version of the Tahoe for 2025. And just like you've seen with some other GM products, we can very easily switch between a wide variety of different designs, including that full screen map that a lot of you guys like. Also standard on a High Country, available on many of the other trims, is a giant 15-inch head-up display. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, most models will come with a nice leather-wrapped steering wheel. The High Country does have special High Country branding down there. The wheel itself is power tilt and telescoping on your upper trim levels, and heating is also available. Off to the left-hand side of the steering wheel, you've got a big panel of a lot of different buttons. These are going to be regarding things such as your headlights, so that you do retain physical controls for headlights. They're not in the screen like many other products. It's also where you have your four-wheel drive controls and things like that. Now, let's talk about interior storage now. Obviously, this is a huge SUV, so we want to check out our interior storage. So in our console here, we have two measly little donuts because, of course, here at Car Confections, we like to put donuts in the center console to see how many will fit. Well, today we're in Texas with this Tahoe, and we weren't able to bring enough to fit inside of this. This is obviously a very large area that's going to easily accommodate more than a dozen donuts. So why even bother putting them in here? We definitely look forward to getting the official number, though, once we have all 24 donuts back at home. You can only bring so many with you. Now up in front there, you got a couple cup holders. We also have a big area right here. Wireless phone charging pad on most trim levels as well. You got some storage along the sides of the console. This model does also come equipped with the sliding center console. So as you can see, when I press that button, I can slide this back. This gives you not only a divider in the rear seats, but also gives you access to this special hidden area where you can hide your precious belongings. Now, for 2025, we don't have the push-button shifter anymore. Instead, we have a column-mounted electronic shifter. So you're just going to press down for drive. We've got paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then go the opposite way to reverse. When you go into reverse, you'll see this 360-degree camera system pop up on all trim levels. That's now standard on all versions for 2025. You can switch between a few different views right through there. Just be aware that even though the screen is, really, really large, it doesn't take up the whole screen. It's actually a very small part of the screen. And of course, you do have an electronic parking brake as well. Now, let's move our attention over here to our climate controls. So this is a revised area. Get the piano black finish. So one of the things that I want to point out is that you do have climate controls in the screen now. Most of them are up here, but you have redundant physical controls. So you can still just grab this knob here and very quickly make your adjustments to your 3-zone automatic climate setup. Now, again, you have redundant controls up here. This is where you'll turn on your heated seats. And then you also have ventilated seats, so long as you choose at least the Premier trim level. Now, the display itself is a very large 17.7-inch panel. This is brand new for 2025, obviously way larger than what was previously offered. Before I talk about the specific details of this infotainment system, let's listen to the audio system. This is a 10-speaker Bose sound system. The knob is actually integrated into the display. Yeah, so overall sound quality is pretty nice. Certainly fills up the cabin well. It is more of a bass-centric sound system. And it's not quite as good, obviously, as what you'll get in the Yukon or the Escalade. They do have to save some special touches for those two models. Okay, now returning back to this giant 17.7-inch display. This is the newest Chevy infotainment system, so it is running the Google apps built in. So as you can see, you have Google Assistant, you have your Play Store, and then of course you have your Google Maps, which takes up the entire display. Really great performance and resolution on board, just like many other General Motors products. The thing I do want to emphasize is the fact that we have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay both on board. So since this is not an electric General Motors product, it does have both of those systems still on board for all the trim levels. Rising above here, we have the frameless auto dimming mirror with HomeLink remote. We also, since we have the top model, get the rear camera mirror. So you flip that switch and see that view. And then lastly here, let me go ahead and roll back the power sunshade for the panoramic sunroof.
Let's go ahead and dive into the rear seat area for this new Tahoe. Now, this has always been a great place to spend time. That continues, of course, this year. We're going to be looking at about 42 inches of legroom, about 39 inches of headroom. That is a very good amount of space. It's pretty much the segment leader in terms of space figures. And I do want to just go ahead and get our knee room figure as well. So Chevy allows you to easily slide the seat forward and back. So I'll go ahead and scoot it back to the maximum back. And then we also do have this seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8". We're looking at about 9.5 inches of additional knee room, and my feet can slide up underneath of the seats. Now, speaking of these seats, they also do have the ability to recline a very good distance, and you're noticing that we have captain's chairs on today's example. There are a couple different options that you can have. You can have these captain's chairs, or you can also have bench seating if you need the maximum seating capacity. Do be aware, though, it's going to be sprinkled amongst the different trim levels. Now, as far as features are concerned, we have two cup holders right here in the center. We also have this same panel as last year. This adjusts your climate controls. Heated rear seats are standard on Premier trim levels and above. We also have a USB-C, two HDMIs, and another USB-C, and a household style outlet. So I think you're going to have plenty of connections. Now, why do you have those HDMI ports? Well, that's because we have rear seat entertainment screens. That is still an available option here on the Tahoe, which is notable because that's actually something that the new Expedition is eliminating. So very happy to see that we have the integrated screens. They're going to have a really nice resolution to them. They're also Android-based. Now, if you turn over to the door trim, you're going to have a very nicely finished one. A lot of leatherette going through here. You have some more real wood trim as well. Plenty of door storage in typical Tahoe fashion, and you have vents that are integrated right up here in the roof that really help cool you down on a hot day. And let's go ahead and dive into the third row as well. So in order to get back here, they've made it quite easy. You just pull this little lever once. That's going to fold the seat down. Twice will actually release the seat and allow it to tilt out of the way. You would have to remove a child seat to fold the seat like this, though, so keep that in mind. And let's talk about the third row. Now, this has always been a really good area for the Tahoe. That's going to continue this year. We're going to be sitting at around 35 inches of legroom, about 38 inches of headroom. Really impressive figures. This seat is slid all the way back, if you remember, and I still have about 2 inches of extra knee space, and I'm 5'9", like I said. My feet can also slide up underneath the seat, and we have really excellent thigh support. If you need extra room, you can also get the Suburban, the extended wheelbase version of this vehicle. That'll give you a couple more inches of rear leg room as well. Now, as far as features are concerned, we have a cup holder here on the side, a USB-C port. We're also going to have vents that come out of the ceiling. We're not going to have any third row window sunshades, and as a matter of fact, we don't even have second row window sunshades. I wish we had added that as a feature this year, but overall, this third row is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best third rows money can buy, so I'm going to say this is fit for adults. Now, walking up to the tailgate of the Tahoe, we have a couple things to point out. First of all, I want to mention that your rear glass does still pop independently, so you have that feature if you want that. Additionally, we are going to have a power tailgate standard on LT trim levels and above. If you choose Premier and above, you'll have a new Auto Sense feature. So when you walk up to the vehicle, it'll beep a few times and just go ahead and open automatically. So that's kind of replacing your kick function previously. Now, as far as the space is concerned, let's go ahead and discuss that in this Tahoe. So, of course, we're going to have a lot of space. 25 cubic feet behind the third row, 72 cubic feet behind the second row, and 123 cubic feet with all the seats folded down. Now, of course, the Suburban is going to further expand those figures to just astronomical figures for this segment. We do also have a power folding third row as well, and you have buttons to electronically fold the second row as well. So really everything can be folded down with a couple presses of the button to get you that maximum cargo figure. And speaking of the maximum cargo figure, let me go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures, which is something we do in all of our Car Confections reviews. So from behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, we are going to be looking at about 89 inches of overall cargo length, which is really impressive. From behind the second row of seats, we're going to be sitting at about 54 inches. Behind the third row, about 20 inches. Let's go ahead and get cargo width as well. 50 inches wide, really, really impressive stuff. And then let's get cargo height. 33 inches tall. Really good stuff, as you would expect out of a Tahoe. Additionally, underneath of the floor, you do have a little bit of additional space. We found that to be useful for putting stuff like an umbrella. A power outlet is also included here in the rear.
And by this point in the video, you're probably wondering what is under the hood. Well, I think a lot of you guys might be surprised, because in this era of engine downsizing, we still keep the same old mighty V8 engine. So that means you have a standard 5.3 liter V8. That's making 355 horsepower. And then your top trim levels, including this high country, this gets the 6.2 liter V8. This makes 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Now, that's not to say the entire powertrain lineup is unchanged, though, because we do have a change to the available diesel engine. So this is upgraded for 2025. It's the newest version. It's a 3-liter turbo diesel inline 6. 305 horsepower is the new power rating, and 495 is the new torque rating. Both of those are up substantially, about 30 horsepower and about 35 pound-feet of torque. And it's also now optional on every single trim level if you want it. Now, as far as the rest of the powertrain, you do also have a 10-speed automatic transmission. Of course, you have rear drive as standard and available 4-wheel drive. Now, at this point, I'm sure you are ready to see what this is like out on the road, especially with those new 24-inch alloys in combination with the magnetic ride and the air suspension. However, we can't share that quite yet. We are under a driving impressions embargo for now. So until the date you see down below me, we can't quite talk about that yet, but we wanted to go ahead and show you guys the refreshed exterior and all the new features as soon as we possibly could. So make sure you come back to the channel because of course we will be honoring that embargo out of respect for our fellow journalists as well as Chevy.
And now let's discuss pricing for the Tahoe. Now, we don't have official numbers at the time I'm filming this video right now. Now, we're going to try and see if we can get those numbers to you, and we'll insert them in a text box right now. I do expect a price increase for this 2025 model, so I would expect around $90,000 for something that you've been seeing today. Now, if you're looking to buy a Chevy Tahoe or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. And guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth review of the 2025 Chevy Tahoe. Of course, this is a very important refresh, so we hope you enjoyed watching this video and found it helpful in your purchasing decisions. That's really the whole point of us making this video. And if it helped you, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car content such as this, and you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. I promise you won't want to miss out. So do yourself a favor, subscribe down below. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies. And thank you if you're already a subscriber.